Hi, I'm Rhett. Today I want to walk you through an Optimizely tutorial, and I'm going to show you how to set up a test, how to measure that test, and what the results might look like. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing I want to show you is the Optimizely interface. So there's a few different sections of the tool itself. The first section you have is projects. If you have multiple departments or groups who are testing inside of Optimizely, you might want to give each department or group access to their own project so that you can distinguish who's doing what. That's the first section. We're not going to go into that. That's pretty straightforward. One of the things that you need to understand as you're setting up Optimizely is how it's implemented. The first thing I want to show you is just the settings. Optimizely, like most testing tools, is implemented very easily. You just copy the script and you place that in the head across your site, and then you're good to go. You also have other things, custom webhooks if you need them, custom integrations. So here, this is where you would connect your analytics. You can see that we have analytics connected. You can also connect our heat mapping tools there. If you're using Google Analytics, you would do that here. We've also connected Telium audience stream so that we can use audiences in our segmentation and targeting. So this is where you can do your custom integrations. You can also do a custom one using some of these things. Let me also show you, you can add extra JavaScript to your code. You can see that we've done some of that. This is where you would choose who else is going to work on your project with you, and then also your advanced settings, pretty much just your name. It's not that advanced. I don't know why they call that for your project and your name. Then to implement Optimizely on your site, you go to the implementation tab. You can do this as you're setting up a test, but here you can actually add new pages to your implementation. So if I click on new page, I'm going to call this the testing theory landing page. And once we've done that, you can have other advanced conditions, but I'm just going to create this page. Oops, put in that URL. And then once you actually have the page set up itself, I'm going to go to this page, and this is where you would tell Optimizely to track certain metrics, certain clicks, certain elements. So it's a great way to get certain events into your testing at a page level or using rules. So for example, I'm going to create a new event, and it's just going to be a click event. Every time someone clicks on training videos, I want to understand how this page is impacting my training videos. So I'm going to highlight that and then add a click event. And I'm going to call this the training videos click. It's already pulled in the selector, and I'm just going to save that. The nice thing about the page level implementation is it gives the power to the marketer to really be able to track custom things on each page across our site. So now that we have the click tracked for that element that's in question, I'm going to go back to our pages, and that's how you would set up your site in Optimizely. You specify pages. On those pages, you specify things that are important to track, whether it's clicked or success events, and you do that through the Optimizely interface. So these are the pages. If you want to go see all the events that are set, you can come to the Events tab, and then here's just a few that have been set up, where they're at, what page, the name that we've given them. And then you also have your custom extensions. These are a few that have been set up for some recommendations. First thing we're going to do is set up a test. So we're going to go to the Experiments tab, and here you have all the tests that have been set up, but we're going to come over here to the right, and we're going to click on Create New, and then when you do that, you have three options. You have A/B test, you have multivariate test, and you have a personalization campaign. So we're just going to start with the A/B test for now. Once you click on that, then you have the option to give your test a name. So we're going to call this the CTA destination. So now you have to put in where you want the test to run. So I'm going to enter a URL. Just going to grab one of my landing pages here. We'll put that in as the URL for this test and create experiment. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're in the test editing mode. So this is where we can change the control, change the variations, and change the metrics that we're tracking with this test. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the variation and modify that variation. Okay, so I'm going to create a new change, and I'm going to change an element. So I'm going to click on the editor and grab this element here. You can see that it's a WYSIWYG editor, so you can come and you can edit whatever element you want. I'm just going to try and get the CTA. And what we're going to do with this test is we're going to change the destination URL. So in this case, I was just linking to something lower on the page. It was coming down here to show the methodology, and we're going to change that. We're actually going to link it to a different location of the site. So let's grab the other URL where we want to link to. We're going to link to the All Courses page. Grab this URL, and we're going to come back here, and we're just going to make this the link instead. And then we're going to save it. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just rename the variation so we remember which one's which. So our variation we're going to call our all courses destination. And then save that. This was just a simple change, but just to show you the other things you could do, I'm going to add one more variation and we'll call this complex. Just give this a new name. Okay, so when you create a change, there's lots of things you can change. Again, you can change an element on the page, but you can also insert HTML. You can insert an image. Let's say I want to change my background image here. I could insert an image there. I could just do a straight up redirect. You could change it to go to a different page. But I'm going to go back to change element. Oops, I guess I should get my selector there. You have all kinds of things you can change with the WYSIWYG: layout, typography, border style, timing. Track clicks is an important thing. We're going to track clicks on this element. We're going to call this CTA click. We're going to save that as well, just so that shows up as a metric. One of the most common changes you might make is just basically inserting code. So if we go to insert HTML, you can choose something and you can say we want to insert before, we want to insert after, at the beginning, at the end. So to give you different ways and locations to insert code, and then you can just pop your code in right there directly. Okay, so those are the changes we want to make with the variation. Let's go back to the main page. Okay, now that you have your variations created, you see that there's other options here on the left that we can modify. So targeting, this is just basically saying, where do you want to show this test? Where does the test run? Where do you want to show it? Where should this test fire? And again, we're just showing this on the home page on one of our landing pages, so we don't need to change anything here. These rules will satisfy that condition, but this is what you would do if you wanted to change a site-wide test, or if you wanted to have certain pages where you have maybe multiple combinations of pages, all your category pages, or all of your product detail pages, or all of your landing pages. You would use these rules to specify which ones meet this criteria. Exact match, simple match, if it does or doesn't match. You can also just specify when it triggers. Does it trigger on the DOM change or some JavaScript condition or manually? So this allows you to really get deep into how to specify where and when a test should run. We're just going to keep this as the home page for this test. And then I'm going to move to the Audiences tab just to show you what this looks like. Here you can create a new audience to target who sees the experience itself. I actually want this test to show up for everyone, so I'm not going to change it. But again, you can come here and let's go ahead and create a new audience just so you can see what this looks like. So you have all kinds of custom attributes here. Everything from, we have an integration with Helium set up, to external attributes that you could put in here as custom things. Standard visitor behavior, they click, they did this. What do they actually do on the site? So I might say, hey, if someone clicks a call to action somewhere else, then they enter this other call to action test. And then you have your basic targeting rules from devices to browser to language. Okay, so one thing I want to do with this test, just to give you an example of what it might look like, is I want to target this test by location. So I'm going to go ahead and drag location over, and then I'm going to give it a name, say Texas. And then if I start typing here, this will show you the different locations that you can target. We're going to call it Texas, United States, and say if anyone is in Texas, they will see this test. Again, this is just random. I wouldn't do this strategically because that doesn't make sense based on the data we have. But then I can save this audience and say, okay, great, Texas. So that's how you add audiences. I can add multiple audiences. I can create new audiences all based on those conditions. Let's go to integrations. This is something like if you want to send your data to your analytics, you would use this to specify an analytics variable. You see we have Adobe Analytics integrated here, and we can choose which variable to send that to. We also have ClickTell here, so what's going to happen is when we launch this test, we'll be able to get heat maps and recordings. You might have your own custom heat mapping tool. Let's keep going and look at metrics. So I've already specified this CTA click as the event we want to track as part of this test. But there's probably other things that would be more suitable for our main success. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new metric, new event. I'm going to call this registrations. That's what the main success is. And then really what I would do is just take this code and I would implement it on my registration page on the sign up form. So I'm not going to do that now just to save time, but this is an example of what you do. You can track custom events on the site, like the CTA click that we enabled, or you can create a success event later in the site. Maybe if you have a retail site, you might have success be revenue per visitor, and then that would be the success you choose here. And you can just choose as many as you want. So if I choose, this isn't relevant to this site, but I could add this here, and I could say this, hey, when this increases, That's great, that's what I want. Save that to the experiment. So it's really easy to add metrics here, and if I want this to be, you can change the order of it and make this one the primary metric. I don't in this case. That's just an example of how you can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and save that metric. Okay, now shared code, we don't need to do this. This is if you want to have code across all variations, like maybe you're making a certain change across everything from a certain winning experience you had. That's where you put that in there. Traffic allocation is where you would change the % of people that you either want in the test or how you allocate based on the different variations that you're going to run. We don't need to change that here. We want to split that evenly. If you want to schedule your test, you could do that. Hey, I want this to go live on Monday at 1 a.m. I don't want to do that. But then you also have a couple other settings. Okay, the last thing I want to show you while you're editing your variation is that you might want to check the preview out and make sure that it's working okay. So you can go ahead and click the preview. You also have other options if you want to share it or do some cross-browser testing. But I'm just going to click the preview link. And then here's my variation. If I click this, it takes me to the all courses page, which is just what we set up. So that's great. Looks like that's working perfectly. So let's go back to our variations. So that's good for this. So I'm going to go ahead and start the experiment. Turn that on. So now that we have the test running and we've checked to make sure it's working okay, then we will be able to look at the results. So there won't be many results yet, but I do want to show you what that tab looks like. So you come in here and you click on the results. It shows you the days it's been running when it was published. So now that we have a little bit of data in this report, you can see that there's a few visitors. You can see that one of them did indeed click that CTA and that's being tracked. And then you can also see the results over here. Clearly not statistically significant enough. There's only a couple people, but this is what the results would look like if you had just a little bit of data in there. You'd have more for an actual test, of course. So that's a quick overview of how to set up a test. You create your variation, you add the metrics to it, then you get your results here. Today I want to show you how to set up a multivariate test in Optimizely. The first thing we do is come to Create New, click on Create New, click on Multivariate Test, and then we're going to give it a name. This is a sample MVT, and we'll just say we are learning how to do multivariate tests. Targeting, we're going to do it on this URL. And then this will be for everyone. We don't want to choose a custom audience in this case, but you could. And then metric we're going to use is did they click? Let's actually search for training. Did they click the training videos? That's going to be our main success. So now let's create the combinations. This is going to be our headline. And this is the control. We're going to call this one the act now. This is going to be the more conversions, better testing headline. And then we're going to add another section. Again, it's a multivariate, so the multiple variations of multiple elements. So this is going to be our call to action. And then the first variation is learn more. Let's put that in there. And we're going to call this one act now. And then that should be good. So we're going to do a 2x2, 2 elements with 2 variations each. Forgot to save my metric. You have to save your metric in order to save your test. So let's go ahead and create the experiment. Okay, so once you create the experiment, it brings you to this page where you can see the variations, and you can do just like you would do in any of the normal A/B tests. You can go in, you can click on the page and say this one is actually the not learn more, but it is act now. Save that. Go back to our sections, and this one is more conversions, better testing. So we're going to come to this headline, and we're going to change this. And then we're going to save that. So just like an A/B test, you come to your multivariate test and you're changing them based on the variations that you strategically set up in the first instance. Let's go back to section. Okay, here we want to add some metrics. Actually, I'm already tracking the training video. We don't need to do anything here. That's great. So that's it. It's pretty straightforward. You set up your strategy. Different elements have different variations. Then you set up the changes just like you would for a normal A/B test. and then you can go ahead and make sure you have our metric selected and start your experiment. So we're going to go ahead and start this, and it's now published. So I just clicked the preview, and we're looking at the preview. You can see this change to act now. Looks like our multivariate is in place. So one last thing to highlight with the multivariate test, you do get different reporting in your results. So here you can see on the results page that you have your AA combination, the two controls, you have your AB, your BA, and then your BB. So again, you want to understand how each element is impacting success. And by having the different full factorial combinations, you get that with the multivariate test. Today, I want to show you how to set up a quick personalization campaign in Optimizely X. The first thing you want to do is come to your Create New, click on Create, and you're going to set up a personalization campaign. Once in here, you give it a name, and you can say that I am targeting people, because that's what we do with personalization. If I can type it. And then we'll give it a URL just on our homepage here. Okay, so now we choose the audience for each experiment. So you can choose an audience per experiment or per variation. And we're going to go ahead and choose people on mobile devices in Utah. And our metric is our training success. Do they click on training videos? The holdback. This is important with a personalization campaign. What a holdback is it will send all of your traffic to the new experience you set up with the new audience, but the holdback keeps this 5% back. The reason you have that is to say, how is our personalization campaign doing compared to if we did nothing? So the nice thing is it gives you a comparison point to say, is this actually working and doing a job, or are we off in our personalization estimates? Because over time, things can change. You might have learned from good testing that personalization works, but over time, that preference might be diminishing, and the holdback helps you evaluate if it's getting better or worse. Let me save my metric to my campaign, and we'll go ahead and create the campaign. Okay, once it's loaded, you come into your personalization experience, and you can see here's our mobile devices. From here, you see you've got the holdback and also the variation. So the variation, you can come in here and change whatever you want. Let's say I don't like this subheading, so I'm going to come here and say better heading. Definitely, that is a better heading. I'm going to save that as the element change. Now we know that anyone on a mobile device is going to come to this page, and what they're going to see is better heading. Let's go back to our experiences. Now what's unique about a personalization campaign is you can create a new experience. So here, if I create this new experience, I get to come in and I get the same building experience that I did before with a different audience. So now I'm going to say, hey, just show me people from Texas. That is the audience we are looking at. We're going to name this Texas headline. And we're going to say create that experience. So now, again, like an A/B test, you come in here and you can specify what you want for this variation. And I'm going to say, because we're testing this as a personalization, welcome Texans. All those people coming to my site from Texas. Save that. So now you have two audiences, mobile devices in Utah, and you have Texas. We didn't specify which device they're on here from Texas, but this is the unique thing about a personalization campaign is you can specify multiple audiences, and you can say if you meet that audience criteria, then you get that experience. The other thing you can do with Optimizely is you can prioritize these audiences. So I'm going to go to prioritize, and this will say if someone meets both criteria, which one do we get? Now you really can't be in Texas and Utah. These are pretty mutually exclusive, but you might have other things like they're in a mobile device as one audience, and they're in Texas as another audience. And so you might say if they're on a mobile device, we want to be that more important. So then you would just drag and drop these, specify one to the other. You can also put them as combined, so they're all in one thing as opposed to in separate things. So that's how you set up a personalization campaign in Optimizely. You choose an audience and you set up your audience to be targeted. You change the variations for that audience. And the new thing is you can add multiple audiences to that same personalization campaign. Let me show you what it looks like to see the results of that experience. So this looks a lot better with data, but I just want to show you the unique thing about the reporting inside a personalization campaign with Optimizely. So you get two different views. You get the campaign overall improvement, and then you also have your specific variations over here on the side. So if you want to say, how did this one audience do for what we targeted them, you can see that here. And if you click on that, it will go into that individual audience. But you also have a summary for experiences, a summary for all metrics across all experiences, and then you can see how those impacted the site. This view will also show you how the holdback is doing compared to your personalized experience. So then you can get a sense if that holdback is doing better or worse over time. Let me click on an individual audience, and it just comes and opens up the actual, probably what you're used to seeing with a regular A/B test. You see the audience in question, but then you see the holdback and the variations. Anyway, so that's a quick overview of how you set up a personalization campaign in Optimizely, what that looks like. You can add multiple audiences to each campaign with multiple variations inside those to do some really advanced personalization. Today, I want to show you a quick example of how to set up a recommendation test in Optimizely and what it looks like on your site. So this is our example of a recommendation test. We have a few variations set up. One thing that's unique about Optimizely is you have to actually have them set up the recommender service for you. So they'll get with you and you'll help them understand what you want to do with recommendations. They'll create this recommender service and then give you some code that you can reuse. They can also templatize that code so you can do it more quickly in the future, but you do have to have them set that up. So I'm going to go to one of our variations that we have here. We're going to go to the news affinity. And what this is we've set up this zone on our homepage that basically just inserts news based on certain criteria. So when I click on the actual details here, you can see that we have 4 products. I could change this just to be 3, and then it reduces the maximum there, but I'm going to put it back to 4. Maybe you want to do a 2-column layout and just show half the page because you want to insert other things there. So that's one thing about the products you're inserting. You can also change the title. I'm going to say news just for me since it's personalized. And then you can also say where you want to insert it. If you want, we could say we want to insert this at the beginning. If we do that, it comes to the beginning of the zone that we had chosen. I'm going to say before. Let's go after. So basically you can choose where you want to insert it, before or after. And then you also get different algorithms. So this was recently viewed, but you could do other things like user-based, people who viewed this, viewed that, people who converted. In this case it says bought, but if you have a certain conversion point, you say people that convert on this, convert on that, and then also popular. What are the things that are most popular? So these are a few different ways you can choose the different algorithm to specify which content to show with your recommendation zone. The last one there is recently viewed. If you already saw articles or products that you want people to show, you could have the recently viewed algorithm as the one that you've chosen. So one of the questions you might be asking is, well, how do you get information into recommendations? That's the nice thing about Optimizely that I like. When you go to set up your pages in Optimizely, you can specify events and things that you want to pull in. So for example, I'm going to go to this conference page. So one of the nice things about Optimizely is you can use the interface to specify what information you want to pull into the recommendation information based on your page setup. So in this case, we have a few things happening. We are pulling in the URL. We got some little code to pull in the URL. We've also got things like the image. The image itself is being pulled in with a code so that if you want to have a little thumbnail on your recommendation zone, you can pull in the image. You can also just specify things on the page. So for example, you can see these elements that are highlighted. The topic, the title, the speaker, the date. These things are all being pulled. So the speaker, you can see, is pulled in right there. The conference date is pulled in right here. When you specify these things that you want to pull in, then your recommendation engine can use those as metadata into the inputs. And so if someone had come to a certain talk or speaker and they saw something they liked, you could recommend that as people who viewed this, viewed that. And you could have the metadata all there. So like the title, the date, the speaker name, the image. If you have a retail site, you can do the same thing. Here's my product street image. Here's the title of the product. Here's the price of the product. And so the recommendation data is pulled in from data on your site when you set up Optimizely, which is one of the things I really like about it, because then you can have a pretty robust implementation using certain rules that look at certain page sets and pull in certain data based on the ID or class that you targeted. So it's a really quick and easy way to get a lot of recommendations information into your recommendations tool. Today I want to walk you through Optimizely's program management tool. If you are running a testing program, a program management tool is essential to make sure that you're running the right tests, keep you on the right track, and making sure you're organized and keep doing things at the right time. So let's get started. So the first thing you see here is there's a few different things on the options that you can click on. Teams, you come here if you want to separate your program management to multiple teams, departments. Right now we just have one set up, but most of your work will be done in the Ideas and Experiments tab. You also have your basic reporting that does show you how your program overall is doing. You see this is partially filled because we only just started using this, but you've got the experiments you launched. You can see how many variations have been tested. You can also see win rates. Like if you have a bunch of tests that are losing, you get a graph here that shows how many are winning compared to losing. There's some reports with program breakdown by touch points. When did they start? Homepage or all courses page, what pages are you testing on? And then also by tags. You can tag different things about each test. We like to use tags to show what we're actually testing. So you've got tags or locations, what we tested, where you tested it, and you can see a breakdown by that. So we'll give you some basic reporting. I don't think it's phenomenal, but it's something to help you manage your program. And so basic high-level program reporting, you can filter on each of these as well. Hey, show me which sites, show me different touch points, just the home page or the checkout pages. You have all kinds of things here that you could filter on. This is by process, and we'll show you more what that process looks like as we start doing this. And then also stage of ideas. You also get different tags. I only set a couple to show you. But let's go back to the ideas. So you would start here in the ideas page, and let's go ahead and create a new idea. So we're going to call this we're going to do this test on the home page, and we're going to call this the CTA. No, let's change the headline, hero headline test. And this is just trying to figure out which headline is the best. Okay, so we got that. We'll create the idea. Now that you have a new idea in here, you come to this page where you can put in the specifics. Okay, what's my goal? My goal for this one is I want to have more registrations. Pop that in there. And then you say the primary metric, which is the same in this case, registrations. Hypothesis, I already put that in the last one. Description, we're going to put which of 3 variations is the best. Just knock that in there real quick. We're not going to restrict this. We're going to open this up to everybody. We're going to have this on all of our devices. And then tags. Oops, let me save that. And then we're going to put in a few tags. So this will be on our home page. And this is also our hero banner, which I haven't put in, so that'll be a new one. And this is a copy test. So we have a few tags in there to make sure that we have useful filtering for future tests. You can also upload an attachment here. So if I'm going to call this the hero banner, and we'll just get a quick file in there. If I screenshot this, I would screenshot this page, put that in there, and then that would be the file. So I'm actually going to just pull a different file in there to show you what that looks like. It's just going to save the image. Okay, so this is the home page. This is the previous test where we were changing the destination of the call to action, but you get the idea. So now you have your image on there, you have your details filled out, and then you can also specify which stage this is at. So for example, if this was already had been created, a creative is done, we're just changing the headline, you could say, okay, we did that, we'll just send this right to development. So now anyone who's using this program management tool can see which tasks are in development. So that is the idea and the stage it's at. You can also give each idea a custom score. So you've got a few different filters here. So if you think your potential for this, well, we're just changing some text, but it is on the home page, it's probably medium. The impact, again, I'm guessing could be medium to low. And the level of effort, very, very easy, because all we did was change some text. And do I love this? Well, I'm not super in love with my headline. It's just average. So it's not great, it's not love. We'll just say, hey, it's kind of middle of the road. So now you save this, and this gives you an overall score. So the nice thing about this is once you have lots of tests in here, you can evaluate which tests you should prioritize based on the overall score of each test. I'm going to actually change this, and I'm going to say my love on here is extremely high. I love this test. It's really important to me. So now my score is higher. It's a 4. We're going to link this experiment to a previous test. It was a previous A/B test. So now we're going to find this, And we're going to search for this CTA. We'll just link to one of these just to show what that looks like. Once you have it linked, it will sync up and pull in everything. The last thing here is your task and timeline. So this shows if you want to make assignments. So in this case, this is going to be assigned to me. So I just choose my team members and choose myself. If we already know the start date in here, this is going to start on Monday. And it's going to be, well, the due date for requirements, I guess we would start on Monday, and then we'll make those requirements due by the 23rd. So you can see the Optimizely just sent me an email saying, great, you have this assignment, you need to take care of that. So that's a way to make sure that we're all communicating well if you have deadlines and a team working on this. If I want to say the creative is going to be assigned to someone else, I can come in here and choose another person and make sure that's assigned as well. So that's the basic essence of setting up an idea. You've got your idea, the scoring, you link it to your experiment, and then you can choose who does what at what phase and what time they have to start that. So let's go back to the ideas. So now you can see that we have a couple ideas in here. We have the hero headline change we just created. We also have one of our previous tests, and then you have the priority ranking here, the 4 for the one because I love the test, it went up a little higher. You also have the ability to filter. Once you have a bunch of ideas, you can say, hey, you know what, show me everything that touches the home page, and that would filter that. These both touch the home page, so that didn't change anything, but you can see that as you have lots of ideas and lots of tests you're running, the filters become really important because you can say, hey, show me everything that I'm working on. You show me everything that is assigned to me. So I can say, okay, these are all my tests, just show me those. It helps people manage the test and their workflow. Anyway, there's lots of other filters. You might say, show me everything that has to do with the hero banner or a copy, and those would filter those out. Most of all, these two have that as well. So let's just give you an example. Let's uncheck all. Okay, so if I want to filter by anything that is a 4 or more, come here and change that, click apply. And this will show me which tests now. Okay, yeah, I have a bunch of them that are 4, in this case just 1, but that's the basic idea of how you would filter to see what you should work on from your ideas perspective and what you should launch. Okay, so now we're looking at the Experiments tab. You can see in the Experiments tab that you have a list of your tests that are in here. You can see the details by expanding that to see, okay, what was in this test, what did it look like. And then if you want to see any of the variations or specifics, I can see the reports by clicking on the actual test name itself, and that would load the reports so I can come into each place. So the nice thing about having the Experiments tab and everything in Program Management is you can see all your tests together. Again, this is just some sample testing that we had in there. Anyway, so you can see you can put your ideas in here. You can link your ideas to your experiments. You can have your experiments in one view, so you can run reports. You can filter on where things are at, the status, hey, what stage is it at, or the result, did it win, did it lose? And then maybe you want to filter by location or by touch point, just show me my homepage tests, or the date it ran. So again, just similar to the ideas, you can filter your results and all your tests by all these different combinations to find, hey, what if you want to show me all tests that ran on my homepage that had to deal with an image? Or show me all navigation tests we've run. The nice thing about having a tool that's a program management tool like this is you can filter all your tests to find insights across tests and discover even more learnings than you would otherwise not have with just an individual test. One other thing to call out is program management currently in Optimizely is kind of a connected but separate tool. So to get to it, you just click down here to Program Management, and that's where you can go to manage your ideas, your tests, to create workflow and process to say, hey, you need to work on this at this stage with this start date, or to add new ideas to be tested. You can also link your ideas to tests that are here in Optimizely so that you can connect the two experiences. Anyway, so that's a quick overview of Optimizely Program Management. I hope you liked it. I hope you can see the value of having a tool that will keep track of all your tests, that will allow you to organize and assign things, and also keep track of what phase tests are in, and then also to see the results in a combined view so you can filter by high-level things and discover which elements are having the impact across tests. So again, Optimizely Program Management, great tool, and I hope if nothing else you are using a program management tool somewhere. Okay, that's your overview of Optimizely. I hope it's been helpful, and I hope you found something useful. If you liked it, please hit the like button, and you can also subscribe to my channel. I post new videos every Thursday, both on tools and testing strategies and how you get more results, better results with your testing efforts. Finally, you can also come to testingtheory.com where I have more classes and courses. You can also sign up for my newsletter and get more information about better testing and getting better results with your tests. Okay, it's probably good. I think that's good. Sit up straight. Come back.